Do you have that Smith song, Paint a Vulgar Picture, which cynically attacks bands endlessly re-releasing old material? I can't seem to find it on the Best of the Smiths Volume 1, the Best of the Smiths Volume 2, the very best of the Smiths, or the Smiths the singles.
Yeah, left into the back. Now, one of the great things about song lyrics is you get to invent new words and mess around with old ones. You pretty much can't pick up an album these days without getting a track like Project Pat's "Y'all niggas ain't no killers, y'all niggas some hoes." Now, some people will tell you that this type of behaviour is killing the English language. But clearly, these people have never read a book before, as pretty much every great author ever, from Lewis Carroll to Salman Rushdie, has messed around with syntax, spelling and grammar. Which brings me to this. The hip-hop community has always been prone to violence. Back in the early 80s, there was a brief respite from the knife fights and the drive-bys, as homeboys from Brooklyn to North Balwyn learnt to resolve their conflicts via breakdance battles. A la Don't You Miss It, Breaking 2, If You Forget It You'll Regret It, Electric Boogaloo. But it didn't last long. As quickly as they were pulled out, the cardboard mats were folded away and the violence began again in earnest. Observe now this dramatic interpretation of one such flare-up between Violent J of the Insane Clown Posse and his arch-nemesis, Eminem.
I'm gonna be a bitch. Yeah, you my dog, I'm gonna kill you. My juggalo gonna bust your ass. I'm gonna kill you.
But wait! It doesn't have to be like this. In the new millennium, I propose a new form of hip-hop battle. Hip-hop Scrabble. Now, no doubt b-boys and fly girls have thought, hey, let's resolve this turf war with a round robin of Scrabble. But then thought, no, Scrabble's the white man's game, with an official tournament word list that's ignorant of what's going down in the hood. Well, let's see if that's right or wrong. We've pulled out the board and Violent J and Eminem have a game in progress. And to help me adjudicate, Darren Hinch, are you there?
Hi, John.
Now, Darren, you've written The Ultimate Guide to Winning Scrabble, but you have another book with you.
Yeah, that's the Ultimate Guide to Winning Scrabble. That's my new book, but this book is even more important. This book, of course, is the official guide of word lists. If a word is in here, then it's allowable in Scrabble, especially in tournaments.
Well, let's see what's in and what's out. Now, Darren, Eminem has just put down fat with a PH, a popular African-American colloquialism often used in rap songs, meaning of impressive quality. But surely the fuddy-duddies in their Scrabble ivory towers do not allow it, Darren.
No, they're not fuddy-duddies in their ivory towers. I mean, fat is allowed, P-H-A-T, as a matter of fact. And you could also have, because of that, you have fatter with a P-H, or you have fattest. So all of those will be acceptable.
Yo, Grey Malenko.
Now, Darren, Violent J has cleverly taken advantage of a two-way double-word opportunity and has put down gangster in true underground fashion, spelt with an A, not an ER.
The purists would hate that, gangster, with an A, not an ER, but these days, in most dictionaries, gangster is acceptable.
Now, Darren, Eminem has just played diss, as in right up to your face and diss you.
Diss, yes, is allowable. Diss is not disallowed.
My dog.
Well done, Marshall Mathers III. I'm sure Marshall Mathers I and II would be proud of their boy, getting 14 points and opening up the board. Now, Darren, Violent J has tried to restore some rack balance after picking up a potentially crippling 5 vowels by putting down hoochie, a contraction of hoochie mama.
Well, hooch would be a word, because hooch is slang for booze, and hooch you could have for a hut, but hoochie for hoochie mama, no. John, I think a smarter move would have been to put down something like homie, which is allowable, homeboy is allowable, breakbeat, backspin, crackhead, freebase, they're all available words. And also yo. Yo is a good, valuable 2-letter word you can do. And if you say yo, you can also say whitey. All allowable.
And what about niggers? With an AZ. As in, y'all niggers ain't no killers, y'all niggers some hoes. Darren?
Niggers. Objection was I find the word with an ER, yes, would be acceptable, but niggers with a Z, no.
Oh well, I guess Rome and Detroit wasn't built in a day. Now, Darren, Eminem has just extended on an earlier play, Booty, to make bootylicious.
Now, booty is a word as in plunder or as in a reward, but bootylicious, maybe, in his vocabulary, it ain't in mine.
Sadly, Slim, I'm going to have to ask you to dump that word, like so many ex-girlfriends, in the river. And Violent J, even though it slipped past a keeper before, I must now ask you to remove Yo Mama Be a Bitch and subtract 107 on a triple word score.
Gwen Malenko.
Thanks, Darren. As you can see, in this great alphabet of life, whether you're a B-boy, an MC, or an OG, Scrabble has kept up with contemporary musical ebonics and isn't just a game for losers. It's also for grown men who wear ice hockey masks and clown makeup.
Next week on Music Jamboree, Hungry Hippos for Ravers. Remove the marbles and throw in the ecstasy.
He knows the inner secrets of the music industry, but for fear of retribution, he must hide his identity. He is the Music Mole. Mr. Mole, I bought a Human Nature CD the other day. They're successful ads. I imagine they've made a few people rich.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, John, because rumour has it that at least one of their so-called successful albums wasn't quite the success it seemed at first glance.
Do tell, Mr. Mole.
Well, every record label has to spend a bit of money promoting a CD if it wants it to chart. You know, TV ads, flying the band around, music videos, etc.
You know, cardboard cutouts at record shops.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So rumour has it that whilst Human Nature were hitting the high end of the chart, when it came time to do the books, their record label Sony realised that for every CD they'd sold, it had cost them $40 in promotional costs.
The CD only costs $30.
I think that was the problem, John.
So that guy in Human Nature comes up a little short in more ways than one.
He does, doesn't he?
Thank you, Mr. Mole.
No problem.
If you listen to your Sunday school teachers, they'd have you believe that rock music is anti-religion. But what the heck are they going on about? Sure, Deicide sang Kill the Christian, and John Lennon sang Imagine No Religion, but what about Destiny's Child, who are not going to compromise their Christianity? Or the Wu-Tang Clan, who tell us that the wisdom of the universe is the truth of Allah for the nation? Or the Beastie Boys, who go on and on about Buddhism on that track on ill communication that everyone fast-forwards? But Christian rock, Muslim rock, Buddhist rock, none of this interests me. What does interest me is rock Scientologists. Scientology is the controversial religion founded by L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s. Its critics call it a dangerous and secretive cult that brainwashes its members, then blackmails and threatens those who try to leave. It's been banned in several countries. So what's it all about? The Church of Scientology say we are all spiritual beings called thetans who merely occupy human bodies. Far from being dangerous, Scientologists say they are just trying to help people through a process called auditing, which is a kind of combination of confession and counselling, using a device called an e-meter. You grip onto the handles, you and your Scientologist counsellor talk, and the needle on the dial helps identify painful subconscious memories. Not just from when you're young, but from when you're in the womb, and even from billions of years ago, when, according to Scientologists, our thetans lived on another planet. You might know of a few big-name actors who are Scientologists, like Tom Cruise and John Travolta. So presumably there must be Scientologists in the music world. But who are they? If I was to tell you that some mainstream commercial pop diva who pumps out power ballads for Hollywood soundtracks was a Scientologist, you'd probably say, typical. But I'm not going to tell you that. Instead, I'm going to put forward the question that many of you may not want asked, and even less of you will want answered. Is Beck a Scientologist? Through albums like Mellow Gold, Odelay and Midnight Vultures, Beck firmly established himself as the much-loved retro kitsch golden boy of alternative music. So is Beck under the spell of this controversial group? Let's look at the facts. In April 2001, the not overly respected US tabloid, the New York Post, published a tiny tidbit in its rumour column claiming Beck may be dabbling in Scientology. Nothing more came of the story. But let's examine some other more compelling evidence. Take a look at the credits on Beck's Midnight Vultures album, and you'll see the name Justin Meldal Johnson, Beck's bass guitarist. Now go down to your local library and type that name, Meldal Johnson, into the catalogue. The book you'll find: The Truth About Scientology by Trevor Meldal Johnson, a pro-Scientology book published in 1980. That's right, Beck's bass guitarist Justin Meldal Johnson is the son of one of Scientology's most prominent authors. But there is more, much more. A closer examination of the liner notes reveals another credit, strings arranged and conducted by David Campbell. Wait a minute, that name rings a bell. This is the 1986 album Road to Freedom, with songs composed by L. Ron Hubbard. And if we look closely at the credits, string arrangements, David Campbell. Yes, the same David Campbell from Midnight Vultures. And what's more, David Campbell, practicing top-level Scientologist, is Beck's biological father. Let's recap. Beck's father, Beck. Beck's bass guitarist's father, Beck's bass guitarist, Beck. In fact, L. Ron Hubbard's Road to Freedom seems to run pretty much parallel to the road to Beck. So is Beck a Scientologist? To help us piece together this investigation, we've constructed this dramatisation of a day in the life of Beck. Hi, I'm Beck. Every morning I wake up, grab a bowl of Cocoa Pops, and then it's out the door for another big day of handing out free personality tests.
The joy of creating, y'all.
That's me, the one with the guitar. Around lunchtime, I like to pop into my favourite chain of restaurants, the Pancake Parlour. It was founded by Scientologists Alan and Helen Thrashell and incorporates management techniques taught by the church. So I always know I'm going to get a good pancake. Then it's off to meet with my friends from the Church of Scientology.
It's a joy of creating.
Yeah, thank you. Joy of creation. Welcome. Oh.
Public Relations Officer Nick Broadhurst said he'd show the old Beckster around.
As a spiritual being, you're trying to communicate, right? Well, we can help you with that, right? Now, your body, in this case, is acting as a resistor. Pick up the cans. Okay. Now, we'll put you on the dial. Okay.
Man, this looks quite complicated. Would you say this is more or less complicated than, say, operating 2 turntables and a microphone?
Well, it's obviously more complicated than 2 turntables and a microphone. For a person to be able to train to use this can involve perhaps a year of training, right? At, say, 40 hours a week. Think of something that you would disagree with.
That my new stuff isn't as good as my old stuff.
Okay, good. Now, you saw here, we had a little reed here, right? Okay, so there's something there. In an auditing session, you'd be able to tell me about that, right? We'd be able to track it down, right? And then you'd be free of it, right?
Tested people before Scientology processing and after Scientology processing uniformly found that their IQ had raised.
L. Ron Hubbard was a musician, like me. Recently, there was a Joy of Creating concert where contemporary Scientologist musicians performed songs composed by L. Ron Hubbard. Dougie Fresh was a rap pioneer, earning the title the original human beatbox. He now beatboxes for the church.
We have rap songs that Dougie Fresh does, but the words aren't about killing and death and murder, they're about positive things.
This is Kate Sobrano, Australia's most prominent Scientologist musician at the concert. One of the great things about the church is you get to network. I bumped into Cherie Sobrano, Kate's mother and former manager.
The most important philosophical song for her was Brave.
What are the lyrics in Brave that would...
Don't ever walk away, just be brave and stay.
And that's about Scientology?
That's about Scientology. She has a lot of good friends who help her in Los Angeles who are Scientologists, like John Travolta. It's not such a bad thing to be hanging out with John Travolta.
Well, the Celebrity Centre is a church of Scientology just for celebrities.
So like at Celebrity Centre you can go and there's like performance workshops on how to perform on stage, how to hold your body. More successful artists are willing to put on workshops and to help guide the newer and up-and-coming stars.
Well, I could definitely do with a dancing lesson because like Devil's Haircut, you know, it's just like walking around the street and the director had to cut around that.
Well, there's plenty on at Celebrity Centre that would help you.
Can you get kicked out of the Celebrity Centre if your popularity's on the wane? Because my last album, Midnight Vultures, didn't sell that well.
Definitely not, right? We have a lot of courses that a person can use to improve his popularity if that's what he's trying to do.
Virginia took the old Beckmeister through the free personality test.
Is your voice monotonous rather than varied in pitch?
I think that's unfair. Mellow Gold was meant to sound like that.
Is your voice, in addition to that song, is your voice usually like that?
Yeah, pretty much across all albums.
Do you often ponder over your own inferiority?
No, never.
Great.
Regardless of the reviews.
Well, that's good. Do some noises set your teeth on edge? You know, like
No.
when you scratch your fingers down the blackboard?
No, usually I'd just sample that and chuck it in a song.
Are you usually up to date on everyday affairs?
Let me tell you, this whole kitsch 70s thing is back. I know it looks about like 25 years old, but this is quite modern.
I would agree with that. But what about normally?
Yes.
Despite the clothes?
Definitely. Moog synthesizers are back. Everything's back.
Great, so you're pretty with it.
Yeah.
Are you perturbed at the idea of loss of dignity?
No.
Great. So these are the results of your personality test, and what this shows is areas in your life that you need some attention paid to.
Scientology helps a musician stay safe so he can do his craft.
What operating thetan level is Kate on?
5.
Do you reckon she'd do a song with me if I, hook up with her or whatever?
Do you play?
Do I play?
Yeah.
A human beatbox.
You know what?
Like Dougie Fresh, the
Yeah,
Scientology
he's so
rapper.
cool. He is so cool, that guy.
I'm a Scientologist who's like me. I'm a Scientologist who's like me. I'm a Scientologist who's like me. Make some noise in the place to be.
Did you know we obtained Beck's blockbuster video record through Freedom of Information and he'd rented John Travolta's Battlefield Earth 3 times? Irrefutable proof the guy's a Scientologist. Are you interested in finding out more about Scientology? Just visit Scientology.org to find a church nearest you.
One of the problems with being in an up-and-coming band is no one in the industry knows as well as you do just how phenomenally talented you are. You are a beautiful spirit, and your talent transcends all. You move like a cat. You sing like a bird. On stage, you strut like a peacock. You are a god. Yet when the Street Press review comes out, it begs to differ. It says you are derivative. You have no ideas. You sing off key. And on stage, you move like someone in calipers. 1 star. And that's if you even get a review, which you're not going to get anyway, because you're too small to warrant the petrol or even the energy expended to turn the wheel of a bicycle to get some reviewer from the Street Press to see you and your little nowhere band. You are a no one in this town. Each city has their music bible. In Melbourne there's InPress, which is distributed to over 1,500 cafes and clubs and has a readership of tens of thousands. Just as important for any band, it's the weekly must-read for all record industry people. This is 99% Fat, up-and-coming Melbourne ska band, influenced by the Specials, Real Big Fish and the Porkers. For over 6 months, they've been playing at the Evelyn Hotel. And for over 6 months, they've been trying to get a reviewer to come down and check them out. Now, 99% Fat, how often do you play here at the Evelyn?
Pretty regularly. Probably once a month, I reckon.
And have you ever tried to get a reviewer from the Street Press down to review one of your gigs?
Yep.
And
no.
how would you like a guaranteed review, and not only that, a guaranteed great review?
That'd be pretty cool.
First, pick up a copy of your city's most famous, most widely read Street Press. Now open it up and take a look inside. Look over the names of some of the writers. Do you see anyone famous? Hunter S. Thompson? Norman Mailer? The woman who wrote Harry Goddamn Potter? No, of course you don't. Because the people who write for the street press are the people who've rung up the street press and asked, can I write for the street press? To which the answer is, of course you can. We've got 100 pages to fill every week and we don't pay anyone. Do I have to hit you over the goddamn head? If you're not writing your own reviews, you don't deserve to get famous. So write your review.
Yeah, g'day Tanya, it's Bruce.
Ring the
here.
paper with a fake name and some
brand new,
poxy story about how you want to break into journalism or some shit. Then fax it on through and wait. 2 weeks later, in 1,500 cafes around Melbourne, just next to the review for Ryan Adams and Pulp is 99% fat. Now you might think you have to be a little conservative and not hype yourself up too much or the paper will smell a rat. Incorrect.
99% Fat, live at the Evelyn. A powerhouse of horns fueled with guitars. One of the more exciting young bands to gain residency and a following at the Evelyn. Lead singer Cam struts like a peacock. For those who are wondering which band the Evelyn Hoochies are going to be batting their eyelashes at now that motor race have moved on to bigger venues, it seems 99% Fat have become the new eye candy. So much so that halfway through the funk-fueled Chode Odyssey, an angry guy jumped on stage and started punching into lead singer Cam. Apparently the guy didn't like the way his girlfriend was checking out the singer. Other members of Fat managed to pull him off, but not before Cam had been delivered a bleeding eye and fat lip. No one would have begrudged the band for wrapping up the show then, but in true rock and roll will never say die fashion, Fat insisted on belting out their final number. Did you know in 1994, John Safran's uni band Raspberry Cordial received a glowing full-page review in the Australian Jewish News? It was credited as written by George Weinberg. In an a la Media Watch expose, we can now reveal that John wrote the whole thing himself and just chucked his friend's name on it.
Turkey. From its opium poppies to its fezzes, there's more to the music of the Ottomans than that Istanbul not Constantinople song. Dr. Jordania?
Thank you, John.
Now, today you're going to talk about the oud. I believe you have some pretty high regards for this instrument.
Oh, yes. You know, particularly if you look at the history of musical instruments, you will find out that during the 1,000 years from the 7th until the 17th century, oud was the most important musical instrument. Oud itself, in Arabic, it means wood. Some musicologists believe that this instrument, oud, might have come from Persia.
Thank you, Dr. Jordania.
Thank you.
And now to demonstrate the Turkish oud, we have sonic animation with Evil. Hi, DVD viewers. Unfortunately, due to a music clearance issue, we are unable to present sonic animation on this DVD. Now, I usually find those director-actor commentary tracks on DVDs eye-gougingly excruciating because everyone runs out of things to say after about 3.5 minutes. I've got this Beastie Boy video anthology with a commentary track which is basically 4 hours of rapper Mike D saying, "Yeah, look at that t-shirt I'm wearing. Can you believe I wore that t-shirt?" But I do have a spot to fill, and everyone else seems to like those commentary tracks, so I'll try to think of something interesting about the behind-the-scenes Music Jamboree filming process to tell you about. Oh, I know. You know that guy who walks into the shop at the start of the show? His name's Ant Keogh. And you know this guy who's in the back of the van during the 161 Slipknot story? He's one of the Music Jamboree directors, Craig Melville. Well, Ant, Craig, and me have all gone out with the same girl. At different times. I mean, it's not like it was some freaky swingers thing or anything like that. Anyway, I think there's a few unresolved issues over who dumped who for who. So we never bring it up, so we can work harmoniously on set. Because whenever it does come up, it gets a bit weird. Moving on. Did you know since filming the Footloose story, I've moved into a place just around the corner from my old school. So every time I leave the house, I have to look both ways to make sure I don't get busted by an old teacher. And the guy I'm beating under the bridge in this story is my dad. And he was really cut because he spent an hour in makeup and a whole evening filming, and by the time it got to the telly, it was just a 4-second wide shot with him covered by a super for 2 of the seconds. And after the Scientology story aired, the Church of Scientology rang me and thanked me because some kids had gone into the church in Perth saying they were interested because they'd heard about them on my show. And pretty much every time I go to a club these days, the people lining up scream at the bouncer, "He's pranking you," to see if you let him in. And I tell the people I'm not filming the show anymore. But here in Melbourne, I'm seen as some sort of Alan Funt character. And they just say, "John, when are we going to be on the television?" And once I checked on the Oz TV internet message board to see if anyone was talking about my show, and two people were discussing how the chessboard was set up wrong in the music mole. "The mole and Safran don't know how to set up a chessboard," exclaimed an angry Richard at karango.uq.edu.au. Could that be because they were in the middle of the game? Hence the scattered layout of the pieces, rebutted Dara99 at yahoo.com? But Richard at karango.uq.edu.au was having none of this. The bottom right square should be white. And you know this bioepic reenactment of the night the Beastie Boys DJ busted a move on my then girlfriend? Well, the woman who directed it, Lynn Marie Milburn, became obsessed with getting everything entirely accurate, and she quizzed me for ages about my ex-girlfriend and how exactly she looked, and her ethnicity, and all her little nuances. And when the actress turned up, she looked so much like my ex-girlfriend, I asked to be excused and went into the bathroom and had an anxiety attack. Anyway, that fills up the gap. Now back to the regular proceedings.